Oh, you're here. Excellent. I can. Because I don't want the stream to get taken straight away, or I'm going to try and not get the streams blocked as well, so they can stay up. But I've noticed that two of them, I went to download all my streams to make sure, just in case channel went or anything. That two of them were blocked. I didn't notice before. And I've got loads of comments. I've not been getting notifications for comments on the Pip and Justin had a 10 comment conversation about Danny West going live the other day. I didn't see any of the comments. And then Daz has said his standard stuff. Wallace has left a big long comment about one of my titles. But yeah, look at this video. Look at this. Look at the picture they've got for this song. This. Warm earth music for plants and people who love them. 111k subscribers, 1 million views. But I won't play much of it because I don't want to get striked. I don't know how it works, but yeah, I'll keep playing stuff. It doesn't matter. No, they don't get taken at the time. It's only that, you know, that one about the multiple personalities disorder, the 1,000 of characters, Jenny's Army. It was called 60 minutes. That one, that I think that stream's unavailable to look. That was actually got copyrighted for that news documentary thing, which is, I suppose, is what it is. Be nice if they'd be up for people sharing it about and promoting it, but also they want to keep the record of who's viewed it localized to their viewer count as well, I suppose. But this one's cool as well. Music based on the bioelectricity, weather, sun and moon data. So like a synthesizer instrument takes in the information, I guess. And then there's oh, did I share this tab? View tab, yeah, I did share the tab. And then we got this conference. There's still an echo going on in this audio for about 10 minutes now. Unfortunately, on Jeremy Corbyn's audio.
27 minutes.
The woman who speaks. Oh, I was muted. The woman who's speaking on Jeremy Corbyn's audios had an echo going on for ages.
I need to disconnect. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's just stopped.
Make use of this stellar panel. Bye, everyone.
Oh, bless. Oh, good hear. There's everyone's just saying.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Sound echo.
And thank you for
the audio fix
Justice Project for inviting me. It's a great honor to be with all of you on the same panel, and I wish the project and the party great success. And I hope to offer some names that run in my mind. Thank you. Like so many of us who are part of the British academia and deal with Palestine, we navigate between two objectives. One, the very urgent one, and that is to stop the genocide, because the genocide continues, and we're also worried about what Israel is going to do next. And for that, I don't think in my Center for Palestine Studies.
Oh, interesting about the notifications. Thanks. Yeah, it's kind of good, I suppose. It's a good thing in many ways, but also we miss things, and people might think we're ignoring them, but I ended up just ignoring them anyway because Justin and Pip had their conversation. It was entertaining, but not here to be entertained, really. Shall I play a bit of this? Play a bit of this stream. What was the other thing I was going to play? And the other things, just easy, Ricky and Shines from last night about 9/11.
Offer anything hopeful for the future. And one of the things we do in the center, also in the charity that I founded with friends called the Nakba Memorial Foundation, is making sure that people do not forget that the problem in Palestine is Zionism, and that Zionism is still an ideology of settler colonialism that is motivated by the logic of eliminating the native. And the Gaza genocide is just one chapter in a long chapter of trying to expunge Palestine as a nation, as a state, as a history. And Britain is complicit in this project of elimination. And we have, especially in this country, a responsibility not just to work for the end of the genocide, but to change the whole international perspective of what is the problem in Palestine and what is the way forward. And one of the most important things that we have to do is to listen to the Palestinians. If you look at all the genuine and cynical efforts at peace from the very beginning of the arrival of the Zionist movement in Palestine, Palestinians were never asked, what do they aspire to? They were also always asked to respond to the Israeli and their international mediators' ideas of what is a solution. We need the Palestinians in the driver's seat, and we need them to lead us towards a decolonized, a free Palestine from the river to the sea. Otherwise, genocide will continue, ethnic cleansing will continue, oppression will continue. Gaza is the epicenter of what is wrong in the world, but is also the epicenter of our hopes for a better world. And I will finish by saying, and this, you'll forgive me if it sounds like I'm trying to promote my recent book. I'm not, but I'll tell you why I'm telling you this. In my new book, Israel on the Brink, the second half of the book is an imaginary fictional diary of someone in 2048 sitting in Haifa, already in a decolonized Palestine, looking back at all the important landmarks that led eventually to freedom and liberation. And one of the most important landmarks that comes in this book is the creation of a proper left party in Britain that has left the Labour Party and succeeded in moving not only Britain to take a different posture towards Israel, but Europe as a whole and the West. And this is a very important precondition for our
Dear friends
ability
and comrades, I want to thank you all for attending today and for supporting the cause of justice worldwide.
Very good timing,
Dear
Mustafa.
friends and comrades, I want to thank you all for attending.
Okay, I just had one sentence more, so it's okay.
It was a video, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a video. It's okay. No, but it came in the right moment. It was the right. We actually coordinated it. But just to finish this, I really do think that this kind of dramatic change in the way the international community perceives what is the problem of Palestine, what is the origin of the violence, not just dealing with the symptoms of violence, is a very key factor in ending the suffering of the Palestinian that has been going on for too long. My students who are third generation Palestinians are still stateless in this country, still fighting for a visa, still fighting for staying here and completing their studies. And the only reason that there are the third generation of people who suffer like this goes back to the moment that Britain gave Palestine to someone it didn't belong to. Thank you.
Should we hear Jeremy a bit, and then shall I comment a slight bit?
Elon's book, and I look forward to going to a decolonized Palestine in 2048. Absolutely. And I look forward to taking tea with Palestinians living in peace, living in dignity, and living in freedom. And Ilan, you're one of those that will help to have brought that about. Thank you, Ilan Pape. If it's all right with you, Mairead, shall we take Dr. Barghouti now? Can you put Mustafa Barghouti's video on now? Is that okay? After he interrupted you, he must.
We can watch that after. I just think it's worth me putting on record to help me elaborate on this, to not just be. I want to get to the point that the left-right system is just, if we're not addressing real truths of what's going on in this country, this is why we're just getting this job done. So it's kind of, I kind of feel actually almost, but yeah, I don't want to say anything negative about this, but now I think I watched this video on my own time actually. We only just get these lot taking the piss and disrespecting people's children's lives and everyone's lives, and this thing of Noam Chomsky was a little clip of this. I don't know if I'll get a little strike, but we'll give it a go just a little clip of it. No, I'm sorry.
Can people heal with
Not Noam. Gabor. I was thinking it was that European name that got me mixed up. And I was just talking about left-wing politics. Noam Chomsky fellow is famous for his left-wing stuff, isn't he? But this Gabor Mate.
that are addressing the trauma? Well, literally the meaning of the word trauma comes from the Greek. It means a wound. So can people heal without healing the wound? No, they can't. They can put on, they can behave the right way, they can present the right way, but are they healed underneath? No, they're not. I think the wound has to be, and the beauty of it is, in my understanding, and not just my understanding of astute colleagues, is that trauma is not what happened to you. Trauma is the wound that you sustained. Trauma is what you made it mean. Trauma is the shame. Trauma is the self-rejection. Trauma is the ongoing pain. So trauma is a wound that hasn't healed, which is a good thing. Because if trauma is a wound that hasn't healed, then you can heal it in the present. If the trauma was what happened to you all those years ago, it's gone, finished. It'll never not have happened. But trauma being a wound, yes, anybody can be healed at any stage of life, as long as there's consciousness.
Sexual trauma as a child, which, you know, I've covered a lot of stories that involve that, seems to be such a debilitating form of trauma.
Yeah. Well, in sexual trauma, your very body is invaded and you become an object. You don't exist as a human being. You're simply the means to somebody else's pleasure or gratification or sense of power. So your sense of self is obliterated, and the shame is deep.
And then there's silence on top of it.
Sorry?
And then there's silent about it on top of it.
Well, that's the whole point. Like, I talked to anybody who was sexually abused as a child. I know you had my friend Kimberly Shannon Murphy on
Yes.
Some months ago, and she told very eloquently the really disturbing story of her perennial sexual victimization,
Yeah, horrifying story.
by her grandfather. And when I was talking to Kimberly, when I first met her, she was, naturally focused on what the grandfather had done. But then I asked her a question, and I asked it of anybody who was traumatized, who did you speak to? And the answer is almost nobody. In other words, by the time the abuse started, the child already knew intuitively that they were alone and helpless. And that's what potentiated the trauma. Because the perpetrator can tell with almost laser-like accuracy who's undefended. It's not the child's fault. But by the time the abuse happens, this isolation also happens, so people then don't ask for help. Remember the infamous case of Dr. Larry Nasser, who was the physician to the Olympic gymnast team. Girls that he looked after would wear double underwear to his office to minimize the sense of what he was doing to them, but they never told their parents. Most of them never told their mothers. And the ones who, and of course also what happened is when they did tell, and then the parents tried to do something, the Olympic Association dismissed it, just ignored it. So that this silence, this cone of silence surrounds the sexual abuse victim, whether in the family of origin or in the institutions at large.
How can parents break the cycle when they're still carrying their own wounds?
Well, look, when I first became a parent, I had no idea I was even wounded. I just thought this is life. So when you ask, how does a parent break the cycle? If they know they're wounded, that's already a huge step forward. That's already a huge step forward. That's the beginning. You know, the Buddha said somewhere that the Buddha was a great psychologist. All the great spiritual teachers are wonderful psychologists, by the way. I mean, they just see into the human soul. And Buddha said that once you know the source of your suffering, you're already in the way towards healing. So the parents who know that they've been traumatized, they can get all kinds of help to deal with their traumas, and that'll ensure they will not pass it on, or they'll pass on much less of it to their children. And there's all kinds of ways, but being aware that you're traumatized and then having the awareness that in order not to pass this on to my kids, I got to work on myself. That's the best thing they can do.
Is it possible to repair relationships with our children after years of disconnection?
Funny you should ask, because I wrote The Myth of Normal with my son Daniel, who is 50 years old this month as we speak. Daniel and I are now working on a new book. It's called Hello Again, a fresh start for parents and adult children. And believe me, we've had to work at it. And yes, it is possible if the will. It's not always possible or even desirable. But in many cases, if there's some scintilla of willingness there, yes, it is possible.
What would you say to a parent who feels guilt for the way they raised their child?
Yeah. Well, you're talking to one of them. At least for many years, I carried a lot of guilt. Here's what I would say to them. Yes, you're right to acknowledge that the way you showed up for your children hurt them, or maybe the way you didn't show up for them hurt them. But what morning did you decide to hurt your kids? What decision did you make to make them suffer? You never did. You did your best. That was your best at the time. That's who you were at the time. So guilt is totally inappropriate. You're not to be blamed. It's fine that you should acknowledge that it happened. A bit of healthy regret is always a good thing. But the guilt, and guilt implies you did something and you knew better and you didn't do it. Well, you didn't know any better. Or if you did know better, something in you prevented from fulfilling what you knew. There was some trauma there. So it's not deliberate on your part, never was. And so guilt is totally inappropriate. Parents should never be blamed. That doesn't mean we don't acknowledge what they did or didn't do. It also doesn't mean that the child shouldn't feel angry about it. You know what I said to my kids once I became aware of all this stuff? I said, I'm not worried you'll be angry with me. I'm worried you won't be angry enough. I want people to experience, a lot of people who are hurt, there's a lot of anger there that they suppressed. That suppression of anger has got terrible consequences. So I'm not saying there's no room for anger. I'm not saying there's no room for genuine, healthy remorse, but guilt. And that's the first thing. The second thing is, no child wants to be seen as the parent's mistake. If I look at my kids and if I see only my guilt, I'm not seeing them. I'm just projecting my own stuff onto them. I need to see them for who they are. And when you look at them through the eyes of guilt, you're doing them no favor whatsoever.
I think in romantic relationships, in a marriage, for example, it's really important when you have, let's call it a fight or an argument, whatever, with your partner, to allow them to come back without shame.
Well, absolutely. And
super important.
Absolutely. It's so difficult.
Even after they've fucked up terribly.
Yeah.
You allow them to come back with their head held high.
And my own pattern in relationship has been, and I've been married this year, it'll be 56 years. But my own pattern has been, when there's a rupture, I withdraw in a sullen, punitive, rageful kind of way. That's ingrained into my nervous system from my infancy. Then you feel even more ashamed. Now, there's a wonderful colleague of mine, Dr. Ed Tronick, Tronick, who is one of the seminal figures in looking at child-parent relationships. And he says that rupture and repair are an inevitable and even necessary part of human relationships. So ruptures will happen between child and parent, between married couples, between friends. As long as we recognize that rupture and repair are natural human attributes, and once we've had the rupture, we go back to the repair without shame, just with some curiosity about what happened here and what was my own role in it. Or what did you do to me? But which is my own tendencies. We all want to be victims, and because when you're a victim, you have no responsibility. I don't recommend victimhood to anybody. As much as acknowledge what happened, but in a relationship, the most important thing you can do is to look at your own role in it, what you contributed to the situation.
It's interesting how we create our worst fears in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're afraid of being betrayed, if you're afraid of being a victim, you're afraid of, you'll subconsciously almost create that scenario.
You will. And when you form relationships, you'll almost inevitably find somebody who will fulfill your worst nightmares. So it's interesting. So when we get into relationships, we kind of get together with our dream lover, but we also get together with our nightmare lover. And the dream lover is what we see, the nightmare lover is what we carry in our unconscious. And that's what we're going to attract to ourselves, which is okay, as long as both partners are willing to work on it together and use the relationship as a template for growth.
In relationships, and especially in romantic relationships, it's helpful to almost be your own psychologist.
Your own psychologist?
Yeah. Your own relationship coach.
Well, if you can, what you need to do is to be at least curious. I mean, what do you mean by own psychologist, by the way?
Well, like understanding why your partner is behaving that way, and seeing through their behavior that's pushing you away.
Yeah, you have to get what their experience is.
Exactly. Seeing things from their side of the fence.
Exactly. Like in my marriage relationship, almost any time I feel myself aggrieved and perceive myself as victimized, and I'm assuming that I know what the motives of my partner are, then when we talk about it, it's like a total flip. No, that's not what she was intending at all. And she had a totally different experience. But the natural tendency is to identify with the hurt ego and then not see the other person's experience.
forgiveness is a very powerful tool.
What do you mean by forgiveness?
Just in terms of relationships, like
Yeah, but what do you mean by forgiveness?
understanding what that behavior was why it happened, what
Oh, okay.
what created it.
Excellent. If by forgiveness you mean understanding, then
Understanding.
yes.
Yeah,
That's great. What does Jesus say on the cross?
I don't.
He says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do."
Mm.
He actually knows that these people persecuting him, they don't know what they're doing. That's his greatness. You know, he's in touch with deep love, and he sees the frailty of the very people that are killing him, and he understands. So he says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." So that forgiveness and understanding, yes. No, that doesn't mean you put up with it. You know, so that, you know, if somebody's in an abusive relationship, understanding whether the person does it does not take away from you the necessity of perhaps leaving that relationship. So you still have to take care of yourself. As a matter of fact, in an abusive relationship, I'm not even saying that you should understand your partner's behavior. You should understand your own. You should understand why you're still here. What is it that's compelling you to put up with this and to subject yourself to it? What sense of shame keeps you believing that you deserve this? So I think in an abusive relationship, I don't talk about forgiveness much. I talk about, you know, self-awareness.
Yeah. Are you? But you can call yourself religious?
Religious?
Yeah.
Not in the least. I've never been religious in my life.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, I'm a Jew, but I never believed in the religion. In the sense, look, I grew up in communist Hungary till I was 13. And there used to be a joke there that in Eastern Europe, that you could be honest, intelligent, or a member of the Communist Party. As a matter of fact, you could be any two of those three things, but not all three at the same time. Because if you're honest and intelligent, you wouldn't join the party. If you joined the party, if you're intelligent, you couldn't be honest, and so on. Now, that was my same attitude towards the God that I was sold. God is supposed to be all good, omniscient, and omnipotent. And as soon as I had a brain or a mind, I said, well, if God is all good and all-knowing, that he can't be powerful. Otherwise, how come Auschwitz happened? How come my grandparents died in a gas chamber? How come I nearly died in a gas chamber as an infant? So, if God is all powerful and knows everything, he can't be any good. Otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed, you know. So, no, I never believed in that. As a matter of fact, what's interesting looking back is I used to be enraged even at the word God. And I've been thinking for decades now, well, what was that rage about? You know what it was about? Because I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe in something greater than me, this little ego. And that God image that they were selling me just got in the way. So if you ask me if I'm religious now, no, I'm not. I don't have religious practice. I don't have religious beliefs. But do I think there's something greater than we are? Yeah. That we belong to, that we're a part of, that we manifest, that manifests us. I mean, these are words, but I truly sense that there's truth there. And some people have experienced it directly. I haven't, but I trust their experience. And I also, that's the only way to understand the universe.
Tell us about your childhood, how you grew up.
Well, so I'm almost tired of telling the story.
Yeah, you can do an abbreviated version if you want.
Kind of, you know, but you know, I made a very poor career move by choosing to be born as a Jewish infant in Hungary in 1944. You know, some people say you choose your birth. What an idiot would choose to be a Jewish baby in 1944, 2 months before the Nazis occupied Hungary and killed 500,000 Jews, including my grandparents, and persecute us. And I nearly died. I was very sick. To save my life, my mother gave me to a stranger. So I didn't see her for 6 weeks. That was my infancy. My father came back from forced labor when I was 15 months of age, the first time I saw him. Then we grew up in communist Hungary. And what I remember is we had a loving family. And my parents didn't see me. I mean, they couldn't. They had problems, actually, but they sure loved us. And it was a stable family home. And I read a lot. I was very serious. I was always thinking. Truth and justice were essential to my soul from an early age on. I stood up for kids in school who were being bullied. I experienced some anti-Semitism, in school. At the same time, I was obviously troubled. I wet my bed till I was 13. My mother took me to a psychologist when I was 8 or 9, and the psychologist says, "Ma'am, if the only problem this kid has is that he wets his bed, you're lucky." Well, it wasn't the only problem I had, it turned out. So, I had a supportive environment, and we played, friends and family outings and so on. My parents had a stable marriage. They respected each other. But I was deeply scarred by my first 1.5 years. And my mother, when I look back to it, she wasn't a very warm person. So she did a lot of work to meet our needs, but warmth was not something she was capable of giving us. So that's the kind of childhood that I had. And I lived in Hungary till I was 13. And then the Hungarian Revolution broke out against the communist rule, and then we became refugees, came to Canada.
How do you think what your childhood experiences were affects your work that you do now?
My work? Well, for some reason, and people have often said this, I'm very comfortable with pain. Not my own, but other people. I'm not afraid of people's pain, so I can be with their pain, and that's given me a lot of power in my work as a physician and addictions worker and healer. I'm not shy. I'm not afraid of other people's pain, and I can be with their pain. So that's a positive thing.
Do you see it as, when you hear someone telling their gruesome story of their childhood, do you see that as freeing them to maybe get access to what might heal them?
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
They were never heard or seen. And so to hear them and see them and witness them is a powerful healing, powerful aid to healing.
Yeah.
So that's how I also became a workaholic, as a result of childhood experience. That made me do a lot of work, but it also had negative impacts on my emotional, physical health, and certainly the well-being of my family. But it's, how did my childhood affect my work? I think the biggest capacity is the curiosity that I have. I'm really curious.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's one of the attributes that I see when you interview people, deep curiosity about people. And so I really have that. Curious about the world, what makes things tick, why are things the way they are, why am I the way I am. So I think that willingness to be with the pain and deep curiosity. And you know what? There's this phrase, compassion. People tell me that I manifest a lot of it, and I think I do. I really care about people's suffering, and I really don't want them to suffer. And I want to know why they're suffering, and I'm going to help them with that. And so that's those are the attributes that I think my child has contributed to.
That's great. Do you believe modern society itself is traumatizing?
Yeah, again, the subtitle of my book is Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture. So I think we live in a toxic culture. So look, here's the analogy that I give. Let's say you're a laboratory scientist and you're growing microorganisms in a petri dish. And so you have to give them a certain brew in which they're going to live and proliferate. We call that a laboratory culture. We say we're culturing microorganisms. If those microorganisms were thriving, but thriving. See, this is a healthy culture. But what if 70% of them were sick? What if they weren't proliferating the way they should? What if they manifested strange behaviors? You say this is a toxic culture. Well, apply that to human beings. Going back to what I said earlier, you see increasing chronic illness among children in this society right now. You see increasing mental health conditions amongst children. ADHD, which is what I was diagnosed with, it was the subject of my first book, so-called oppositionality, which doesn't even exist as far as I'm concerned, spectrum disorders, depression, anxiety. In the United States, over the last few years, every year, more people died of drug overdoses than died in the Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghan wars put together. This is every year. Now, if we understand that human beings, as a great American physician, George Engel, said in 1977, if we understand that human beings are biopsychosocial creatures, which means to say that their biology is inseparable from their psychology, because the mind and the body are one, and from their social relationships, then what do you make of a society where there's so much disease, illness, mental dysfunction, and all kinds of other ailments? It's a toxic, traumatizing culture.
How do poverty, racism, and inequality compound trauma?
So there's been major studies in inequality. And in a society, as inequality rises, stress rises, obesity rises, heart disease goes up, and so on. That's not controversial. This has been studied up to Yang. Poverty. Extreme poverty is toxic to the brain, largely because of the stress that exists in families in extreme poverty. You can look at the life expectancy of people in Philadelphia or Chicago, I forget which city now, but this is true in Canada as well. In one neighborhood, the life expectancy could be 20 years shorter than in another neighborhood because of poverty. That much. Racism. Studies have shown, people have trouble believing this, but it's just so obvious, that the more episodes of racism a Black American woman is exposed to, the greater her risk for asthma. If you look at not to get too technical here, but there's a structure called telomeres at the end of our chromosomes. And telomeres are DNA structures that are like the aglets on my shoe here, that they keep the strands from unraveling. We're born with about 10,000 units of these telomeres. By the time we die, we have 4,000. Because as we age and as stress, they fray. They fray. Now, the telomeres are kind of a cellular clock. They tell you how biologically aged you are. If you look at the telomeres of women who are the chronic caregivers of chronically ill kids, they're shorter. They're biologically aged. If you look at the telomeres of Black people in the United States, they're 7 years shorter than those of Caucasian people. That's racism. And there's been studies that have shown that if you look at inflammation in the body, and there's ways of measuring levels of inflammation, the more racism, the more inflammation in the body. So that's how racism comes into it. There's a great Canadian physician, no longer alive, Clyde Hertzman, who talks about how poverty and racism get under the skin. Literally, they do. They affect the nervous system, the gut, the immune system, inflammation, and so on and so on. So that, again, the point here is you can't separate the mind from the body, and you can't separate the mind from our social relationships, because our social relationships are reflected in how our minds function. So all these things are significant factors.
Back to addiction. Are the parts of us that act out in these self-destructive ways trying to protect us from something underneath?
Well, I think that's my whole point, is that the addictive behavior is an attempt to protect us from our emotional pain, our insecurity, our anxiety, our sense of isolation. When I speak to hundreds or thousands of people, and I give my definition of addiction, and then I ask, according to that definition, how many of you would acknowledge that you've had some addictive pattern in your life? Just about everybody puts their hands up. Just about everybody. I mean, there's a few people who are either blessed or they're liars. I don't know which.
In denial.
They don't put their hands up. But, vast majority. Then I ask individuals, just as I asked you, what's wrong with the addiction? What's right about it? What did it do for you? Stress relief, pain relief, numbing. When do people need to get numbed? When they go to the dentist and there's going to be pain. It gave me a sense of control, gave me a sense of belonging, sense of love. All these things are wonderful attributes. And if we lack them, it's not because we're deficient, but because they were shut down somehow owing to trauma. So again, the addiction is really an attempt to protect us from the impacts of trauma. Again, as you and I both know, it's an attempt that ends up as a total failure, but that's the attempt.
Why does an addict often seem to become like the worst version of themselves when they're in the grips of their addiction?
Why do they become?
Like the worst version of themselves. It's almost like they're possessed by something evil.
Well, they are possessed. But by the way, I personally stay away from the language of worst. There's a judgment implied there. What if we actually spelled it out? If we didn't call it the worst, why did they become somebody who does something against their own values? Like
self-destructive.
Yeah, they can be self-destructive. They can be dishonest with other people and themselves. They can be manipulative. They will do things to themselves that'll harm their bodies. Why do they? Well, again, because they're so desperate for temporary pain relief. That's all there is to it. So it's not a moral question for me. It's a question of why they're in so much pain.
But the temporary pain relief comes with the behavior that'll make them dishonest and...
Yeah. When I was in my addictive phase, I lied to my wife regularly. And shamelessly. Well, ultimately the shame came, but at the moment, so that addiction brings along all these behaviors necessarily, but they're not.
This is actually I started quite far into it. I was going to play the bit where he mentioned pain at the beginning. Why the pain? I skipped a bit. I started a bit far into it, but I've started using, instead of saying drug, using the word drug, because it comes from the Dutch droeg, droeg, D-R-O-E-G, dried plant. I'm going to start being more specific now regarding narcotic misuse or abuse, and through lack of awareness, like lack of knowing how to focus or utilize a certain tool. And I mean, obviously, the illegality obviously brings such massive hurdles, and the social aspects of how one acquires something, and the setting, the scene, and the setting. Because I mean, I keep seeing articles about ketamine being used for curing depression, psilocybin curing depression in one dose. But ketamine's so destructive. Mushrooms in the wrong scenario can be so messed up for people. You know, have really terrible outcomes, and particularly acid, because obviously the intense strength of it, concentration of the strength. LSD, acid. And MDMA is used in relationship counselling and all sorts of counselling. So, and then cannabis, obviously the broad, so misused as well, so abused. So yeah, these terminologies and the actual availabilities and uses, scene and setting, and I think scene is what they say. Let's play this bit.
It's not as the worst version. Your primary problem was lack of safety and security, which then goes back to trauma. So my mantra on addiction is, don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain. What is the underlying pain that the addiction is trying to temporarily soothe? So that's the role of addiction. It's a forlorn, self-destructive attempt to solve the problem of human suffering. That's what it is.
And on my channel, there are thousands of examples of the terribly traumatic experiences that people have had, and especially in their childhoods. Do any of us get through childhood unscathed? Soft White Underbelly is about giving people a space to tell their stories, even when these stories challenge what we think we know. Ground News shows us different perspectives in the media, which is why Ground News...
I feel out of respect, I think I'll let his advert play, just to say thank you. I forget his name now. Does he have his name here? Thank you. I used to know his name. I watched loads of these at one point. I forget.
News is a perfect sponsor for my channel. In a world where algorithms censor much of the information we receive, some of the most important stories get missed from our news feeds. Ground News highlights local news from around the world, giving you an on-the-ground perspective that national coverage might miss. The app and website empowers you to form your own opinions by presenting you with every article published on any news story worldwide. My favorite part of the app is the data it gives you on each news source as you read it, such as where it leans on the political spectrum, a factuality rating indicating how subjective their printed reporting tends to be, and who funds it. I particularly like their blind spot feed, dedicated to showing you news stories that are underrepresented in the mainstream media. You can check this all out by scanning the QR code on screen or clicking the link below. It's easy to forget how much bias can shape the reality we live in. And in a world where our attention is constantly being fought over, my Vantage Plan easily helps me keep up with more important stories slipping through the cracks. So I encourage you to check them out at ground.news/SWU. Subscribe through my link or download the mobile app and enter promo code SWU to save 40% off their Vantage Plan. And by subscribing or even gifting it to someone you know, you're helping hold the media accountable and helping my channel directly.
Everyone subscribe. Ground News sounds fair. Danny West, you really think you're so clever, don't you? So you word everything so meticulously, like your split personalities and your demeanors and characters when you are in other spaces. It's just phenomenal as well. So Jake, oh no, that's the other one trying to abuse me. Keep moving up the chat. Was that the plan he was using to rescue kids? The way that you say you've got it ready, you got locked and loaded. Kidnap, rescue. It's like this kind of you think, I don't know, it's like a sarcastic. You think that you're just, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, you just how do you? I mean, yeah, just typing so quick and just like think you're so clever. What does bong eye even mean? Bong eye, is it? If I typed that on the internet, would it find me a definition of bong eye? Or is it just a terminology you've invented for me? Let's just hear a bit more in this pain bit, and then what's happening at 8 p.m. Sunday? Oh, here's banana, bloody banana fuckery. Where is your motorbike? Did you have to give up motorbike racing? What did you tell your motorbike mates, Darren? Oh, I was just on the phone to the police this morning. Great update call. They are they're realizing the whole bigger picture of what's going on here, and you're going to be investigated. Well, you are being investigated. You're going to be dealt with very, very soon, lads. So you're going to be just just carry on doing what you're doing. You're going to be fucked over. You had loads of time to stop. You could have stopped ages ago, but no, you just didn't want to stop being abusers, did you?
Thank you for watching.
Well, again, unscathed.
Without a traumatic.
Well, so let's differentiate between hurt and pain and trauma. It's impossible to get to human life without being hurt, without experiencing pain. That's just the nature of existence. But that's not what trauma is. Trauma is not hurt or pain. Trauma is a wound that hasn't healed. And yes, it's possible to get through childhood without being wounded. But in this culture, it's almost impossible. That's why the subtitle of my book is Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture, because I think this culture wounds people from even before birth onwards. Now, if you look at human history, I mean, prehistory, we evolved in small groups, very communal, very collaborative, very supportive, where the members were very secure that they belonged to the community. Children were surrounded by loving adults. So it's possible to grow up without trauma. It's not possible to grow up without pain, but not everything painful is traumatic. Everything traumatic is painful, but you can have pain without being traumatized by it, depending on the environment and the support that you get.
As a society, are we getting better or worse?
Oh, it's getting worse.
Is it?
I mean, on the one hand, there's more awareness, there's more methods, there's more science, but if you look at from the point of view of human needs of either children or adults, it's getting more and more difficult. Children have the need for absolute security, which you didn't have, or safety, and belonging in an attachment relationship. That's not negotiable. Oxygen is not negotiable. Security and safety for a child is not negotiable. It's a need. If we don't get it, we suffer. Children have a need to be able to experience all the emotions that nature gave them and to be able to express them and have those emotions validated and mirrored by the adults in a positive way. Adults have, we all have, adults or children, we all have a need to belong, to be connected with. That's our nature. Now, adults have a need for a sense of belonging. They have a need to be authentic, which means that they could be their true selves without having to follow and mold themselves according to the demands of their environment. And they have a need for meaning and purpose. Now, if you look at any of those needs that I've just outlined, this society is less and less capable of meeting them. Children are less and less safe and secure because the parents are more and more stressed. There's much less sense of belonging because communities, extended families have been eroded significantly. There's increasing isolation and loneliness. And in that context, no, it's getting worse. And, you know, your recent Surgeon General in the States here, Vivek Murthy, Dr. Vivek Murthy, wrote a book about loneliness. And loneliness is an epidemic in the society. So is obesity. And all these, both of those are harmful to health. And that's just one example. Here in the United States, where we're speaking, 70% of adults are at least on one medication, and 40% are at least on two. This is in the wealthiest country in the world. This is a toxic culture.
And of course, childhood trauma, you know, in all its forms is damaging to a person. Also, neglect is also a problem.
Well, you're absolutely right. So if you look at, there were studies done in California called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Studies. They looked at 17,000 adults at their childhood histories and their adult health. And they identified 10 factors that they called adverse childhood experiences, very famous ACE studies, published all over the world, which is why most doctors never heard about them. But that's a whole other story of what doctors hear and they don't hear. Adverse childhood experiences included physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, violence in the family, a parent being addicted, a parent being mentally ill, a parent dying, a divorce, or a neglect. And each of these added to the risk of addiction exponentially. So by the time a male child had 6 of them, his risk of becoming an injection-using drug addict as an adult was 4,600% greater than that of a male child with no such experience, a 46-fold increase. And that was done in California. To those adverse childhood experiences, we also have to add poverty and racism, because they can also create extreme harm to the psyche, the brain, and the body.
And can trauma be transferred? I think it's called epigenetically, where it goes from one generation to the next, even almost like in the DNA.
I'm glad you said almost in the DNA.
Oh, not yes.
Because it's not in the DNA. The DNA doesn't change, but genes are turned on and off by the environment. So it's like a musical score, which doesn't tell you how loud or how softly you should play the, you know, that's the epigenetics. It's which genes are turned on and turned off. And so traits can be passed on epigenetically. Like we know this in animals. You make the grandfather mice scared, and then you expose, and then the grandchild, which is not exposed to the same scary stimulus, is still afraid. So the fear was passed on epigenetically. But that's only one way. Trauma in general is multi-generational. So that it's not just passed on epigenetically, it's also passed on to the fact that parents who are traumatized and who hasn't resolved or even understood or even been aware of their trauma when they bear children will almost automatically pass their traumas on to their kids through their behaviors and emotional patterns. And so, I mean, I did, you know, and so it's not, nobody here to be blamed. But trauma is almost always multi-generational.
And is the solution to just learn how to love each other unconditionally as parents?
Well, it depends what we mean by love, because we think of love as a warm feeling and a sense of caring. Now, almost all parents have that for their children. Only very traumatized parents who themselves were totally shut down in childhood lack that oceanic sense of love for their children. But that sense of love, that feeling is not sufficient, because it's not what the parent feels that matters, it's what the child receives. If the parent loves the child, but is themselves too traumatized to actually see the child and to attune to the child, then the love doesn't get through. The sense of love gets through, and that's good, but to be truly loved, you have to be seen. And a lot of parents have great difficulty actually seeing their kids for who they are, without their own anxieties and expectations and their own emotional reactions and so on. So that love has to get through. And for that love to really get through, the parent has to be able to attune to the child. And which is to say, the parent gets the child's internal experience and knows how to respond to it. And when parents are stressed, as many of them are in this society, they have great difficulty being attuned to the child. So attunement here is the key.
And so maybe teaching us how to be better parents, teaching us how to love ourselves and love each other could possibly help.
Yes, but yes, but it's not a matter of teaching. You can't teach somebody how to love themselves.
You need examples?
Because it's not like you can teach them mathematics or American history. Self-love is not a skill. It's actually an attribute of the human being. And what we really have to look at is how people remove the blocks towards self-love. And one of the impacts of trauma, you're quite right to talk about self-love, because one of the greatest impacts of trauma is that people have a deep, abiding sense of shame about themselves, and they're highly judgmental of themselves.
Oh, I was going to move on to a bit of review of the thing last night. A compassionate way to Shine's and Ricky Easy's madness, total madness, and real. Just braid it off, just straight up. Just says so much about what they're here for. But Ricky says twice, literally, like the same sentence. He says, I need some more arguments. I need some more. It says the same thing. You'll hear it in a moment. But this bit's just so important about shame. I'm going to have to play a little bit further.
And so the way towards self-love is to remove the blocks to it, rather than here's how you do it. And that's a lifelong process, let me tell you.
Yeah. And even stress during pregnancy or early childhood can shape someone's patterns.
Well, there was an article from the Harvard Center on the Developing Child 13 years ago now, published in the Journal of Pediatrics. And it's on early childhood development. It's a classic article. And it said that the process of brain development begins before birth and continues into adulthood, and establishes either a fragile or a robust framework for all health, learning, behavior. The fact is, we know now from multiple studies that when women are stressed during pregnancy, the stress hormones that she then generates from her adrenal gland go through to the infant with a negative impact on the infant's brain development. And women who are severely depressed or stressed during pregnancy, their children are much more likely to have developmental problems, mental health issues a few years later. So I mean, that's just not even controversial. So when people talk to me about how do you prevent addiction, and everybody thinks you prevent addiction by going to schools and telling kids how bad addictions are. Useless. Because the kids who are listening to adults are not at risk, and the kids who are at risk are not listening to adults. The prevention of addiction needs to begin at, or any mental health issue needs to begin at the first prenatal visit. So as a medical doctor, I delivered a lot of babies, about 1,000 in.
Is that I don't know if you want to retype that so I could put it on screen, Kaylee, where it's auto-corrected to AI. Thanks.
20 years. And I was well trained to look after the physical needs, the physical requirements, checking the blood pressure, the weight, the diet, the blood sugar levels, so on. Nobody ever told me to ask the woman, how are you feeling emotionally? How is your relationship? How much calmness or how much stress do you feel? Who do you ask for help when you need it? Those questions are not taught to medical students. And yet, the woman's emotional states do have an impact already on the infant. So that it begins really early.
Do you believe any child escapes trauma completely?
Yeah, I do. Some, but it's a minority.
What does it look like as an adult?
An adult who is comfortable with who they are, who's in touch with their authentic self.
AJ, Adam, Ashbrook, do you really have no insight at all into how blatant your behaviour is and how it's just got more and more blatant? It was already severely blatant. It was only people like ignorant, self-absorbed idiots like Cleon that temporarily went along or didn't quite catch on to what you were doing. Everybody knows, AJ. Everybody knows. It's just a case of the law catching up and doing its due process. You know how corrupt the shit is. It's just why you are doing and getting away with what you were doing and you acting like you were doing, because it's been so fucked up for so long. This is why we're in this position. But you to think that you can accuse Kaylee of making death threats when you have tried destroying this woman. You've tried getting us to kill ourselves. You've tried making us like slandering, saying I'm got a plan to give children LSD. You just come up with the most vile shit. You're just a disgusting human being. And Phantom Tom says that there was an LSD plan for the world that I had or something. And you go and make it about giving children LSD. If I was drunk one night on his panel and I said it would be good if the world had LSD, then he can bring that forward. But he's been saying it for fucking years and he's never shown anyone anything, has he? So what's he got? What's he holding on to this recording for? About me planning to the fucking CIA have already done that. I'm behind the game, mate. France, they did it in France as well in a whole village. Fuck knows where else they've done it. They do it, abuse individuals with LSD for years. I have got no plans to give anybody LSD against their knowing. All right? Just to be clear, if you write it again, you clearly, every time you write it, you already know that you're just bullshitting and you're just plucking shit out of nowhere, making something that Phantom Tom John made up about me. I can only imagine. I don't remember saying it at all. But yeah, I possibly drunk on his panel with him. One time I was ever on there. I don't even remember being on there vaguely. I remember there was Caroline, I think, was on there once. I was on there vaguely. We'd chatted for a bit, and I think he pissed me off, and I left. I can't remember. So yeah, so you're just an idiot, AJ, and you're just a violent, debaucherous, like worse than debaucherous. You're a paedophile. You're a child. You're a child abuse, like talking about all the time about other. You just lie. You're just horrible. You're just horrible, man. No, she's threatened. Warned you, threatened that if you come anywhere near her, she will kill you because you are a disgusting abuser and a threat to her well-being and a danger to anybody. And if she sees you come anywhere near her, she'll see that as a threat, and in self-defense, she will kill you. Yeah, you get it? Thank you. A little bit more of this, and we're going to move on to a compassionate expose.
which means that with their gut feelings, their body and their gut and their heart, who respects their own individuality and the individuality of others, and can interact with people in a non-defensive, non-reactive way, and can respond to the present situation based on the needs of the present, not some programming from the past. And by the way, speaking of trauma, when I was working in the downtown east side of Vancouver, in 12 years, I didn't have a single female patient who had not been sexually abused as a child. Not one.
Really?
And all the men had been either neglected or abused, or, you know, I mean, this is the extreme. But in this society, there's such a punitive attitude towards people who are drug addicted. And there's two fundamental flaws about that. One is we're blaming people for having been hurt and being desperate to escape from their pain. Number one. Number two, those people who are drug addicted are no different from the rest of us. When I was working with these people, I saw myself in them. I had my own addictive behaviors. I manipulated and I lied about them. And my addictive behaviors had an impact on my family and even on my work. Only thing is, it wasn't to drugs. So I didn't face any medical consequences or legal consequences. But they were no different from me in the sense of the desperation to escape from the discomfort that they're experiencing.
You were a workaholic.
I was a workaholic, and I was also a significant shopping addiction. So I shopped relentlessly. I spent thousands of dollars in an afternoon on compact discs, and by the evening I was back in the store.
Classical music?
Sorry?
Classical music? Classical
music, yeah. But it wasn't the music that I was addicted to. It was the shopping. I had to have that hit. And you always think when you're addicted that just one more will do it. If I just get this particular piece of item or disc, I'll be complete. An hour later, you're running back to the store again, because every addict looks for a quick hit of dopamine. And dopamine is the brain chemical that makes us feel alive and vital and present and you know, motivated. And of course, that dopamine hit is very temporary. So if you look at the brain scans of pornography addicts, there's this surges of dopamine. It's not the pornography they're addicted to, it's the dopamine. They just happen to get the release of dopamine through the pornography. The gambler is the same thing. The gambler is not after money, because typically a gambler wins a lot of money in the slot machine in the evening. By the morning, he's losing again. He's after the excitement, the anticipation. The sex addict is not after sex as such, because if they were, the solution to sex addiction was very simple. Just marry another sex addict. Then you can have all the sex you want for the rest of your life. No, it's the conquest, it's the hunt, it's the excitement, it's that dopamine surge. And everybody who's addicted, that's what they're addicted to. And so why are we blaming these people who are using drugs?
Why do so many people relapse, even after years of being sober and doing well?
That again has to do with the addicted brain. So what we have to understand here is that the human brain develops in interaction with the environment. It's not genetically determined. There's 20,000 genes or so in the human organism. About 10,000 are dedicated to the central nervous system in the brain. And the brain has billions and trillions of connections. There's not enough genes to program our brains. So the second sentence from that Harvard article that I cited is that the interactions of genes and experiences literally shapes the circuitry of the developing brain. So it's not the genes, it's the action of the environment on the genes, shapes the circuitry of the developing brain, and is significantly influenced by the mutual responsiveness of adult-child relationships, particularly in the early years. Now, the circuitry that doesn't develop in the addict really well is the opiate endorphin circuitry, our internal opiates. That's why they want to do morphine. And endorphins are essential for pain relief, for pleasure and reward, and for love. And so I asked a patient of mine in the downtown east side once, a 27-year-old woman, she had HIV. And I asked her, what does the heroin do for you? And she said, the first time I did heroin, it felt like a warm, soft hug. She was just looking for love because her own circuitry had not developed because of the childhood trauma.
Exactly what my friend told me on heroin. Like the mother's hug that she didn't, that she wanted. Alcohol and yeah. We need to address the situations and get to a safe. We need to make the world safe. So this can, bless him. He's so clear and he's so honest about all this stuff.
Then the dopamine circuitry, which is the motivation, seeking, vitality circuitry, that doesn't develop. And stress regulation circuitry also doesn't develop. And stress regulation means that when something happens, I respond proportionately to what's going on in the present moment. But when the stress regulation doesn't develop properly, I don't know how to regulate my stresses. I don't know how to calm myself down after a stressful incident. And so when you talk to people who relapse, over and over again, you ask them, well, what happened just before you relapsed? Usually something stressful happened that they didn't know how to cope with. And then they go back to the known entity, which is the addiction, that'll soothe their stress. Like it might soothe your insecurity and lack of safety temporarily. So usually relapse is a response to stress. And that's the whole problem with the addiction treatment industry and even the 12-step movement. As much as I admire and support the 12 steps, but they're missing the trauma piece. So somebody can, and it's a distinction between abstinence and sobriety. Abstinence means you're not using something. That's great, nothing wrong with it. But sobriety means that you can actually soberly consider your situation. So a lot of people give up the substance without becoming sober. And that means when they get stressed, they go for the tried and true.
And what role does shame play in keeping people trapped in these cycles of addiction?
Shame is huge. And that's one of the greatest impacts of trauma, is a deep sense of shame about the self. And people think that shame is a response to what they did or they didn't do. No. They think they're ashamed of themselves because they're addicted. Actually, it goes the other way around. The shame came long before the addiction.
Again, AJ, you've got no insight into what you're saying. So if that was the case, then it would just validate exactly what you're saying, wouldn't it? Exactly what I'm saying. That somebody, it's not Kaylee at all, but it's my other good friend, and she, and it's just, yeah. What I mean, why do you think that's, if any? Why do you think that's doing you any? What are you actually trying to do? What is it? What's the image you're trying to create? What are you? You're not trying to like make us look something to somebody else, because anyone that's of any worth what they think can tell exactly what you're doing. So you think that it's just like hurting us by saying these things, when you're just affirming that if, say, when I've tried certain substances, then there'll be a reason to explain, and I'm showing this whole video to heal myself and help others to reflect on why these things have happened. And then you say, so if someone loves heroin, if that was the case that I loved it, then that would be because I was using it as a a response to, you know, a feeling of neglect, a feeling of a void, you know, a feeling of need, of comfort. So, and I mean, you're the one you clearly must take heroin as well. You wouldn't just be on morphine and morphine alone. You've clearly had every drug under the sun, AJ. So, I would love to help you. I'd love to heal you. Yeah. So, heroin it's obviously what it is. So the reason why it's addictive is because it does a certain job, the same reason morphine does. Do you get it? So to say that I think, I mean, the word heroin, it's actually very close to the word heroin, isn't it? It's actually almost the same word as heroin, as in the female hero. So to even try and make out that, like, I mean, it's only mugs that try and, you know, all this slanderous bullshit that's been used as words against people. And I'll just keep going back to Cleon, because he's the one who just uses cliche terminologies, and it's people like him that have held up you. Like, this is why Cleon is so fucked, and he's going to be held accountable, and he needs to be a lesson to the future and the rest of time, or however long it takes for people to learn from this. That it's people like that use cliche abuse, trying to prop up his own insecurities by sucking off paedophiles, like however inadvertently he went along with the narrative to try and be cool. And money, don't forget the money, because these panels bring a bit of money from time to time, didn't they, in a short blip in consciousness, or the end of the final leg of a corrupt just, I don't know what you call it, just the corrupted society, I suppose. Yeah. So yeah, exactly, Kaylee. And it's so so I just don't get. I mean, you just think it's of some value, your words. She said that she tried it once and she loved it. Like, that's because of what it is, because of exactly what it says on the tin, which is why it is what it is. I've done it a few times for the same reasons, in a place where I wanted comfort, I wanted to feel better. And so lots of people have done it. It's Sherlock Holmes used to go to opium dens and smoke. It was in the stories of Sherlock Holmes. He would go there to relax after a stressful day. I mean, especially people that do really traumatic jobs, like deal with abusers, deal with serious crimes, investigate really disturbing matters, like Sherlock Holmes. I've not really read the stories, but I imagine he probably dealt with some quite disturbing matters. So it's a relief. It's a relief from the reality, the immediate pain, and especially when someone's empathetic and they feel others. Maybe you don't love it because you don't need that, because you just get off on your abusing children and women. Is that what it is, Adam? You just and then projecting that other men are planning to or have drugged children. Is that what it is? You just you get so high off of drugging children, you don't actually take the drugs yourself, and you're abusing anybody speaking up to try and protect children. You're just so fucked. and it's going to end. I can't. You're literally just in this twilight zone of this reality, still upholding any sort of substance or standing in the current narrative, like where everything's at. But on that note, actually, I will go to we'll go over to. Can I get my screen thing up first?
I don't know. Oh, Mickey.
Yeah, come on in there. Who are you saying fucking show?
No, he won't say. He won't be horrible. Well, he used to be horrible. Well, hopefully he's learned his lesson, and I don't have to deal with him. And I'm being honest.
Come on then, dude. Come on talk to Shades.
I'm harmless. Come on, I'm harmless. Come on, I'm harmless. Come on, everyone. Everyone knows I'm
King
harmless.
James fucking log about 2 in the morning. He normally comes along about that time, doesn't he?
No, is it?
Yeah.
King James, I'm sure he was in love with someone or something. There's a story I heard he was in love with
He's in love with everyone.
I don't know who. I don't know. I've heard he was in love with someone. I don't know. King James, if you're on the chat, yeah. If you jump on, you do fucking bore me and whatever. Who the fuck was you in love and you was obsessed with recently?
Who?
King James was obsessed in love with someone online. Anyway. Anyway, no, I don't want to get involved with that anyway.
He's in love. I don't think he's in love with anyone. He just gets on with them, doesn't he? Really?
No. He gets obsessed. He gets obsessed and falls in love straight away. Yes, he does.
Like with who? So who's he falling in love with?
Anyone who's hardcore. Anyone who's rude. Anyone who's rude and whatever, where everyone would hate, he would love them. Oh, that's my kind of, yeah. King James.
He likes the older woman, doesn't he?
Apparently he likes you, innit? And that's a rumour.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he does.
Look at her, mate.
No, he does like you. No, I'm being honest. He's mentioned it. Honestly, I don't lie. He mentioned that he likes you.
Oh, good for you. Thank you.
All right, that's good.
I reckon Billy Bob fancies King James. I think Billy Bob loves him. Drinking on the hot bench with Frosty Jack.
Ask the people on the chat, is there the mic problem? So let me try and sort it out again.
I can't know. They're right with me.
I don't know, it sounds me. I don't know. Check 1, check 2. Echo in the place. People in the chat, please let us know. And not waste your time and listen to echoes all your life.
What's your favourite all-time song?
Say my name, say my name. There you go. Next question.
What? I just think so. Come on, Becca, go speak to Shades. I know he's your brokerage.
Who?
Becca.
Oh, my mate, the footballer, Becca.
Oh, God, he's picking it out. I don't know.
Oh, you got to have some banter sometimes. Everyone's moody these days, you know. Especially the weather's getting cold, they're going to get more moody and moody. And
yeah. Everybody be arguing. You're a bastard. You said that last Christmas.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah,
I like that better. I respect that.
No, honestly, the weather's not. It's getting really bad now. It's getting cold at the evening, and one day the sun is out, next day it's raining. Yeah, it's getting to a stage that yeah, a lot of people are going to be at home getting moody, and they'll be online. So good luck to everyone. Oh dear, I can imagine.
Oh dear. I might have stream on get bored. Come on,
Yeah.
Charles. Cause an argument with someone.
Well, get someone on, isn't it? Nah, I'll be happy just to have a chat with someone. I never argue with no.
Hello.
For no.
Peekaboo. How you doing? Nice to see you.
How you doing? Pika, poo, 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 pika, or whatever. I don't know. Hi.
So, Shines, have you ever read the Quran?
So it goes into the 9/11 bit here now shortly, but I was going to yeah, that bit where he says cause an argument earlier on in the stream. He says, "Oh, I really, we need more arguments. I like it when people argue on here or something." And I just thought, like, from the earlier stream he did earlier on with Baz and Shines, like how these people can just be so numb to even like accept that, let alone enjoy it. Like to actually these people that are just so fake, like Baz just taking all this shit because he's just so fake, and Shines just being so fake. But yeah, so Shines does have like knowledge of, like, he tries to put up the stuff about the government and the paedophiles and stuff like this, and but he's just so fake. He just doesn't persevere with any of it. He's just got no substance to actually bring forward. He just go, but you know, all this is you and that and this and that, and everyone knows this, but I know this, but you and this and that. And they all just literally get high. They get endorphins off just causing, just antagonizing like this. Like I'm saying with AJ here, like I know he's got a job to do as well. He has to try and destroy us so we can't get our job done. But also, it seems like they've employed him, or he's compromised into it, and he's in that mindset because you do genuinely get like high, like Pip Smoker, Danny West. You clearly, like, the amount of just consistent what's the word, like when you're consistent, what's the word, consistent, I think that's the word I was looking for, but how it's like so constant, it's just the same mindset that you must somehow be so comfortable doing it that it might, and the way that you laugh and you do all these, it's just bizarre. Bops is live, you're saying. So what channel Bops got? Is he actually on Mike Hunt? Would I find his channel if I typed in Mike Hunt? Do I believe you? You're usually quite honest when you say people are live. Bops goes live, eh? Bops goes live. Bops goes live. Well, let's have a look. Do you know what his channel's called? Can you tell me that? Let's have a look. Just while we're doing this, we'll play this video, play his audio.
I don't talk about religious stuff. So, I always say this, yeah. So.
Yeah, but have you read the Quran though?
If you really, I don't want to get into it, yeah. And I don't talk about religion stuff. Everyone knows I never talk about religion stuff. So I've always been myself. No. Yeah. And I'm answering your question. Yeah. I don't get into the religion issues with certain people answering questions. Yeah. And there's a reason why. Yeah. It's not going to benefit you or me or anyone on this fucking panel or on the channel or on the chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's best not ask me those sort of questions. I'm on here to have a decent chat and a debate, but don't talk about religion. And I'm being honest. Yeah. So, you can talk to other people about it. Say, have you read the Bible? Have you read the Quran? Have you read this? Have you this? With me, everyone knows I don't talk about all that. Like, don't bring religious on the panel when I'm on a panel.
Well, I'm only asking if you read the book, that's all.
No, I'm not minding it.
Driving at the moment.
All eyes on you. I'm about to put up at a YouTuber's house. Going to smash them up.
All eyes on you. Perfect. Yeah. Commented on your video. Why did you even put that video up, AJ? Of Bailey's Kaylee's call to the police. It was clearly totally like it's just exposing you, your behaviour, and you're just ridiculous. Oh, Helen was watching me as well. Hi, Helen. Oh, it's driving like a maniac. It's driving like a maniac. Dangerous music to play to while online. Jump up, get down, get down. Well, he reckons he's pulling up at a YouTuber's house. It's Bops. It's Bops, Kaylee. He's doing a live stream at the moment. He's just driving. Apparently, he's driving to some YouTuber's house, pulling up at some YouTuber's house. Like AJ, you was sit outside the Fat Dan's house the other day. He's apparently so. I don't know if he's smashing them up or claiming to do whatever. Yeah, it's just I should probably be recording it for the record, shouldn't I? Shall I end this? I think I should end this and then just so the Ricky thing was only this him just saying just that they didn't bring up the towers. Like Shines was kind of saying about how there was a few things that he knew of the cover up of the 9/11, but to not even mention the towers coming down like that, and then they only said that 2 came down anyway. They didn't even know about the 3rd one coming down between them. It's just so pitiful. It's just such a great, but it's not even necessary to even play anytime soon. But it's just good. It's a good on record for the lack of awareness, the lack of that these people they come here to get their fix, and they make claims, they make assertions about cases, and read stuff out newspapers, and then just spend hours and hours wasting on top of the fucking gaming. They just do this, and it's just got to stop.
Chance to get ahead, second time on this head, 3 bucks on the head, bang, bang, head.
Alright, 1, 2. I've got to put these in my pocket for a minute.
Cheerio. See you later. Love you, baby. And universal love, SaturnDay healing to you all.